All right, let's talk about social media, shall we? That wondrous, bottomless pit of dopamine hits and existential dread. It's the digital equivalent of that comfy chair you can't seem to get out of, even though you know you should be doing something else. Like anything else, we're all glued to these things. 4.9 billion people worldwide, to be precise. That's more people than have ever lived in China at any given time in history. And on average, we spend a whopping 2.5 hours a day scrolling through feeds, liking posts about someone else's lunch and inadvertently giving away our data like it's a free toaster at a bank opening. And it's not all sunshine and cat videos, is it? We've got cyberbullying running rampant, with 59% of teenagers reporting being harassed online. That's basically the digital equivalent of having your lunch money stolen, except it follows you home and sends you nasty messages at 3 in the morning. So buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into this digital rabbit hole. We'll expose the good, the bad, and the downright terrifying truth about social media. You know, the things they don't put in their shiny happy ads. Let's be clear, social media isn't just a harmless way to connect with friends and share embarrassing baby photos. Oh no. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry built on one thing: you. More specifically, your data. Every scroll, every like, every comment. It's all meticulously tracked, analyzed, and categorized. These platforms know more about you than your own mother, and they're not afraid to use that information. I'm talking targeted advertising, personalized content, and those creepy suggestions that make you wonder if your phone is actually listening to your conversations. Spoiler alert, it probably is. Think of it like this: you're not using a free service, you are the product. You're being sold to advertisers, data brokers, and anyone else willing to pay for a glimpse into your digital soul. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize it's happening. They're too busy watching a cat play the piano or arguing with a stranger about politics. So the next time you're scrolling through your feed, take a moment to think about who's really benefiting from your engagement, because it's probably not you. Now, let's talk about the algorithm, that mysterious, all-knowing force that decides what you see and don't see on your feed. It's like the puppet master of the internet, pulling the strings and manipulating your every move. And trust me, it's got you figured out. The algorithm thrives on engagement. It wants to keep you glued to your screen, endlessly scrolling and clicking. And what's the best way to do that? By showing you content that triggers an emotional response. Whether it's outrage, envy, or pure, unadulterated joy, the algorithm knows exactly what buttons to push. It's like a digital slot machine, constantly feeding you little dopamine hits to keep you coming back for more. And the more you engage, the more the algorithm learns about you, creating a vicious cycle of addiction and manipulation. So, the next time you find yourself getting sucked into a rabbit hole of outrage or envy, remember, it's not an accident. The algorithm is deliberately showing you that content because it knows you'll react. You're a puppet, and the algorithm is holding the strings. Let's move on to a slightly more sinister aspect of social media. The fact that it's a stalker's paradise. I mean, we practically hand these creeps all the information they need on a silver platter. Think about it, we post our locations, our travel plans, our children's names, our favorite restaurants, even what we had for breakfast. It's like leaving a trail of digital breadcrumbs for anyone with a smartphone and a slightly unhealthy obsession. And don't even get me started on those "what did you look like in high school?" quizzes. Those things are basically identity theft waiting to happen. I mean, who needs to hack into your bank account when you're voluntarily handing over your mother's maiden name and the street you grew up on? Look, I'm not saying you should become a digital hermit and never post anything personal again, but maybe, just maybe, we should all be a little more mindful about the information we share online, because you never know who's watching or who's... Now you might be thinking, John, I'm not famous or wealthy. Why would anyone bother stalking or blackmailing me? And to that I say, my friend, you're underestimating the creativity of creeps. The internet has opened up a whole new world of low-effort, high-reward crime. We're talking catfishing scams, romance scams, revenge porn, the list goes on and on. And the worst part is, these crimes can have devastating consequences for the victims. Imagine this: you post a compromising photo online as a joke, harmless, right? Wrong. That photo could end up in the wrong hands and be used to blackmail you. Or worse, it could be shared without your consent, leading to reputational damage, emotional distress, and even job loss. The internet is forever. And unfortunately, so are the consequences of our online actions. So the next time you're about to hit post, ask yourself, is this something I want the entire world, including my future employer and that creepy neighbor I have tried to avoid, to see? All right, let's talk about the mental health elephant in the room, or should I say the elephant in the perfectly filtered Instagram photo. Social media, my friends, is the ultimate highlight reel. It's where everyone's vacations are luxurious, their meals are Michelin star worthy, and their children, well, they never seem to misbehave. But here's the kicker: it's all a facade. It's like comparing your bloopers to someone else's director's cut. And you know what's even more messed up? Our brains aren't wired to differentiate between the two. We see these curated lives and we can't help but feel inadequate. We start questioning our own worth, our own happiness. Am I not working hard enough? Is my life just not exciting enough? Well, I'm here to tell you, your messy, imperfect life is perfectly normal. You are not alone in feeling this way. This constant comparison, this insatiable need to measure up to the digital Joneses, it's a recipe for disaster. It's like trying to bake a cake with self-doubt and a sprinkle of anxiety. You're not going to end up with a delicious treat. You're going to end up with a big, fat emotional breakdown. And the worst part, social media companies know this. They've designed these platforms to be addictive, to keep you scrolling, comparing, and feeling like crap. It's all about engagement, baby. Your mental well-being, let's just say that's not at the top of their priority list. So what can we do about it? Well, for starters, we need to start being more mindful of our social media use. Think of it like junk food. A little bit here and there won't kill you, but a steady diet of it will leave you feeling bloated and unsatisfied. It's time to step away from the digital facade and re-engage with the real world. The world where it's okay to have a messy bun, where it's okay to eat cereal for dinner, and where it's okay to just be yourself, flaws and all. Remember the days when bullying was confined to the schoolyard? Yeah, me too. Those were the good old days, weren't they? Because now, thanks to the wonders of social media, bullying has gone digital. And let me tell you, it's not a cute look. Cyberbullying, my friends, is the digital equivalent of having a constant chorus of negativity following you around, whispering insults and spreading rumors. And just like its real-world counterpart, it can have devastating consequences. It can lead to depression, anxiety, social isolation, and in some tragic cases, even suicide. And the worst part, it's relentless. There's no escape. It follows you home. It follows you to your friends' houses. It follows you everywhere you go. Now, you might be thinking, but John, what about free speech? Don't people have the right to express their opinions online? And to that, I say, sure, free speech is important, but here's the thing. Free speech doesn't equal consequence-free speech. There's a big difference between expressing a dissenting opinion and launching a targeted attack on someone's character. And let's not forget about the anonymity factor. Social media has a way of turning otherwise decent human beings into keyboard warriors, hiding behind fake profiles and spewing venom with impunity. It's like a digital masquerade ball, where everyone's wearing a mask of anonymity and no one's held accountable for their actions. But here's the thing, folks, words have power, even digital words, and those words can have a real impact on real people's lives. So the next time you're about to hit send on that snarky comment, ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is it worth potentially ruining someone's day, week, or even life? Because I can guarantee you the fleeting satisfaction you might get from that digital jab is not worth the potential consequences. So far, we've been through the dark side of social media, the addiction, the comparison, the cyberbullying. It's enough to make you want to chuck your smartphone in a river and live off the grid, right? But hold on, before you start investing in a goat farm, let's talk about the good stuff, because believe it or not, social media does have a redeeming quality or two. For starters, it can be an incredible tool for connection. It can help you stay in touch with family and friends who live far away, reconnect with long-lost pals, and even build new relationships with like-minded people. Remember, we humans are social creatures. We crave connection. And in an increasingly isolated world, social media can provide a virtual lifeline to the outside world. Think about it. Social media allows you to connect with people from all walks of life, people you might never have crossed paths with otherwise. It's like a global cocktail party, minus the awkward small talk and the warm Chardonnay. And this can be particularly beneficial for people who feel isolated or marginalized. For example, LGBTQ+ youth, people with disabilities, and those living with chronic illnesses can find online communities that offer support, understanding, and a sense of belonging. And let's not forget about the power of social media for social good. It can be used to raise awareness about important issues, mobilize support for worthy causes, and even spark real-world change. Remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? That's right, social media helped raise millions of dollars for ALS research. So, yes, social media can be a force for good in the world. It can connect us, support us, and even inspire us. But, and this is a big but, it's important to use it mindfully and with a healthy dose of skepticism. All right, let's take a break from the doom scrolling, shall we? Because for all its flaws, social media isn't all bad. For starters, it can connect people across continents, bridging geographical gaps that were once insurmountable. Remember letters, those things you wrote on actual paper and waited weeks to hear back from? Yeah, social media kind of blew that whole system out of the water. And it's not just about staying in touch with your weird Uncle Gary, who insists on sending you Minions memes every Christmas. Social media has become a lifeline for families separated by distance, for activists organizing across borders, and for researchers collaborating on globally significant projects. But hold on, because it gets even more impressive. Social media has become a hotbed for entrepreneurship, allowing small businesses to reach a global audience without the need for massive marketing budgets. We're talking about craftspeople selling their wares on Etsy, chefs sharing their culinary creations on Instagram, and musicians finding their audience on TikTok, all thanks to the power of social media. So, yes, while we've spent a good chunk of time highlighting the potential pitfalls of these platforms, it's important to acknowledge that they've also opened up a world of possibilities, connecting us in ways we never thought imaginable and empowering individuals to build businesses and share their passions with a global audience. And let's be honest, who hasn't dreamt of becoming an influencer? Imagine lounging by the pool, sipping on a suspiciously turquoise cocktail and getting paid to tell people about teeth whitening products. All right, maybe that's not everyone's dream, but you have to admit, the allure is there. But beyond the sponsored posts and the #blessed lifestyle, social media has given rise to legitimate businesses, with entrepreneurs leveraging platforms like Instagram and TikTok to build empires from the ground up. We're talking multi-million-dollar companies that started with nothing more than a good idea and a smartphone. From fashion designers showcasing their collections to educators offering online courses, social media has democratized access to opportunity, allowing individuals to bypass traditional gatekeepers and take their destinies into their own hands. It's the ultimate entrepreneurial playground where creativity and hustle can lead to remarkable success. Of course, we'd be remiss not to mention the dark side of social media stardom, where the pressure to maintain a perfect online persona can be crushing. But for those who navigate the landscape wisely, the opportunities are vast and the potential for impact is undeniable. Now, if you're anything like me, and I sincerely hope for your sake that you're not, you probably get most of your news from those bite-sized nuggets of information, sandwiched between cat videos and your aunt's passive-aggressive rants about the neighbour's prize-winning petunias. Yes, I'm talking about getting your news from social media, and why not, right? It's convenient, it's immediate, and it's often served with a side of outrage that makes you feel vaguely informed while simultaneously fueling your existential dread. But here's the thing. Relying on social media for news is like getting your medical advice from a chain email forwarded by your grandpa, because let's be honest, social media thrives on sensationalism. Algorithms are designed to feed you content that will keep you glued to your screen. And nothing is quite as addictive as a healthy dose of fear, anger, and outrage. So, while you might think you're staying informed, you're actually being spoon-fed a carefully curated diet of information designed to manipulate your emotions and keep you coming back for more. And the worst part? Misinformation spreads like wildfire on these platforms. We're talking about fabricated stories, doctored images, and videos manipulated to fit a particular narrative, all disguised as legitimate news. It's enough to make you want to swear off the internet altogether and retreat to a remote cabin in the woods. But before you pack your bags and invest in a flock of carrier pigeons, let's talk about the newest threat to our collective sanity: deep fakes. Remember when you could believe what you saw with your own two eyes? Yeah, those were simpler times. Because now, thanks to the wonders of artificial intelligence, we've entered an era where seeing is no longer believing. Deepfakes are videos that have been digitally manipulated to make it look like someone is saying or doing something they never actually said or did. And before you think, oh, I'm far too tech-savvy to fall for that, let me assure you, these things are getting scarily sophisticated. We're talking about politicians seemingly endorsing policies they vehemently oppose, celebrities appearing in compromising situations, and world leaders declaring war when they actually just really enjoy a good charcuterie board. The point is, deepfakes have the potential to erode trust, sow discord, and manipulate public opinion on a scale we've never seen before. So what's the solution? Well, short of becoming a hermit and living off the grid, the best defense against the onslaught of misinformation is to approach everything you see online with a healthy dose of skepticism. Fact check, verify sources, and remember, if it seems too outrageous to be true, it probably is. Now let's talk about something that affects us all, whether we care to admit it or not: the insatiable human need for validation. It's a primal urge hardwired into our DNA, right alongside the desire for food, shelter, and a good pair of noise-cancelling headphones for when your upstairs neighbor decides to practice their tuba at 3 a.m. And where do we go to get our daily dose of validation in the digital age? You guessed it, social media. We post carefully curated snapshots of our lives, meticulously crafting captions and filtering out any imperfections in the hopes of eliciting those sweet, sweet likes, comments, and shares. Each notification sends a little dopamine rush to our brains, reinforcing the behavior and feeding our desire for external validation. We become addicted to the fleeting sense of approval, measuring our self-worth by the number of likes on our latest selfie or the number of followers we've amassed. But here's the problem. Basing your self-esteem on social media is like building your house on a foundation of sand. It's unstable, unpredictable, and bound to crumble at the slightest tremor. One minute you're riding high on a wave of virtual praise, the next you're spiraling into an existential crisis because your latest post only garnered a handful of likes. And let's not forget about the insidious nature of social media comparison. We scroll through our feeds, bombarded with images of seemingly perfect lives, exotic vacations, picture-perfect families, and bodies that seem to defy the laws of physics and genetics. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing our behind-the-scenes reality with everyone else's highlight reel, forgetting that social media is nothing more than a curated illusion. We're all just humans, muddling through this thing called life, trying to find our way and maybe take a decent selfie along the way. But here's the thing, your worth is not determined by the number of likes on your latest post, the number of followers you have, or how closely your life resembles an influencer's carefully curated feed. You are valuable simply because you exist. You are worthy of love, respect, and belonging, regardless of your online presence or lack thereof. So, the next time you find yourself scrolling through social media, feeling inadequate or envious, remember this: you are enough. Log off, step away from the screen, and go do something that makes you feel good, something that nourishes your soul and reminds you of your inherent worth. Okay, so you're scrolling through your feed and suddenly, bam, Facebook suggests you befriend your dermatologist's receptionist. Now, you haven't seen this woman since that suspicious mole turned out to be a harmless freckle. You haven't interacted with her online, so how the bloody hell does Facebook know? Well, it all boils down to this charming little thing called location tracking. See, these apps aren't just satisfied knowing what brand of cat food you're ordering online. They want to know where you go, who you're with, and how long you stare at that discounted spatula in the clearance aisle. They're like that creepy ex who just can't let go, except instead of showing up at your doorstep with a boombox, they send you targeted ads for discounted spatulas. And here's the kicker. It's not just Facebook. We're talking Google, Instagram, TikTok, the whole lot. They're all collecting data on your movements like it's going out of style, which it very much isn't. They then package this information up in a nice little bow and sell it to advertisers, who then bombard you with personalized ads for things you didn't even know you needed. But hey, it's not all bad, right? At least you'll never have to suffer the indignity of seeing an ad for a product you're not interested in. Unless, of course, you consider constant reminders of your questionable online shopping habits to be an indignity, which, let's be honest, we all should. Now, you might be thinking, John, my dear boy, I've got all my privacy settings on lockdown. These tech giants don't know a thing about me. And to that, I say, bless your heart. You see, these companies are sneakier than a fox in a hen house. They've got more ways to track you than a pack of bloodhounds on the scent of a particularly pungent sausage. They use cookies, pixels, and other nefarious-sounding tracking technologies to follow your every digital move. They even share your data with third-party companies, so even if you manage to dodge one tracking attempt, there's a whole army of data-hungry vultures waiting in the wings. It's like trying to outrun a swarm of angry bees, except instead of stings, you get targeted ads for hemorrhoid cream. And the worst part, most people don't even realize it's happening. They blindly click accept on every cookie banner that pops up, blissfully unaware that they're essentially handing over the keys to their digital lives. It's like leaving your diary open in the middle of Times Square and being surprised when someone decides to have a read. So what can you do about it? Well, you could try living off the grid, surviving on berries and rainwater, and communicating solely through smoke signals. Or you could stick around for the next chapter, where we'll discuss some slightly less drastic measures to protect your privacy in this increasingly invasive digital world. All right, so you've heard the horror stories, you've seen the creepy stalker imagery, and you've hopefully laughed at my terrible jokes. Now, let's talk solutions, shall we? Because while quitting social media cold turkey might seem tempting, let's be realistic. Most of us aren't ready to ditch our digital lives entirely, and that's okay. You can still enjoy the benefits of social media without sacrificing your sanity or your privacy. It just takes a little bit of common sense and a willingness to wrestle with those pesky privacy settings. First things first, turn off tracking permissions. I cannot stress this enough. Go into your app settings and disable location tracking for every app that doesn't absolutely need it to function. Facebook doesn't need to know your exact coordinates every time you post a selfie. Google Maps, on the other hand, probably does, unless you enjoy getting lost, in which case more power to you. Next up, limit those pesky notifications. Do you really need a celebratory trumpet fanfare every time someone likes your cat photo? Probably not. Turn off non-essential notifications to reduce distractions and reclaim your attention span. Trust me, the world will not end if you don't see that your second cousin twice removed just posted a picture of their lunch. And while you're at it, take a good hard look at those app permissions. Does that flashlight app really need access to your microphone and camera? Does that calorie counter need to know your location? If it seems suspicious, it probably is. Revoke unnecessary permissions and tell those data-hungry apps to back off. Now, let's talk about setting some boundaries. Social media can be a real time suck, and before you know it, you've spent 3 hours watching videos of cats playing the ukulele. And look, I'm not here to judge your viewing habits, but there's a whole world out there beyond the glowing screen. Use those handy-dandy screen time alerts to set limits on your social media usage. Start small, maybe an hour a day, and gradually reduce it over time. You might be surprised at how much free time you have when you're not constantly glued to your phone. You could take up a hobby, learn a new language, or finally finish that novel you started writing in 2017. And for the love of all that is holy, never post your location in real time. I repeat, never! It's like sending out a personalized invitation to every creep, stalker and burglar within a 50-mile radius. Wait until you've left the location to post those vacation pics, unless you want to come home to an empty house and a missing collection of commemorative spoons. Remember, the internet is forever. Once something is out there, it's virtually impossible to take it back. So think before you post, think before you comment, and for goodness sake, think before you share that article from a website called Bob's Conspiracy Corner. Look, I get it. Social media is a part of our lives now. It's how we connect with friends, stay informed sometimes, and waste countless hours watching videos of dogs riding skateboards. But it doesn't have to control your life. Use it wisely. Protect your privacy. Be mindful of the content you consume and share. And most importantly, don't let it steal your common sense. Remember, there's a whole world out there beyond the screen. A world full of real connections, genuine experiences, and conversations that don't involve arguing with strangers about the latest celebrity scandal. So, put down your phone, step away from the screen, and go live your life. And if you absolutely must document it for the gram, at least wait until you've left the vicinity and turned off location tracking. Your future self will thank you.